What's the truth about child stars? Are they becoming organically famous or are they part of a pattern of exploitation by the adults around them? Also, should you try for a VBAC after having a C section? I will give you my opinion on that. And what is the deal with all of this political infighting? Why does it seem like the right disagrees on so much more than the left does? And is that a problem? We will talk about all of this and much more on today's episode of Relatable, which is brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Allie at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. We are here for another question and answer episode, answering some of the questions that you guys sent me on Instagram. We will go ahead and get right into it. First question, you ask, should I go for a VBAC or just do elective C-sections? All right. For those of you who don't know what a VBAC is, I'm sorry, Related Bros. Maybe you need to cover your ears if you don't know. VBAC is a vaginal birth after C-section. And of course, I cannot tell you what to do because I don't know. There's so many things, so many factors that people say go into it, like what your scar is like, what your previous birth or births were like, and what your medical history is. And you have to weigh the risks and the benefits based on all of these varying factors. And hopefully you have a provider that can help you do that in a way that is really objective and cares best about and who cares the most about, your health and the health of your baby and not just whatever is easiest. I will say if you look at the statistics on vaginal birth after cesarean, it is statistically, of course, again, depending on various factors, extremely safe, even safer in some cases than a repeat C-section. I think some people have the impression that a repeat C-section is without risks and that it's always the safer and the healthier option to take after you have one C-section. And that is not true. There are a lot of risks that come with that kind of major surgery, a lot of long-term problems that can come from the major surgery. Now, I'm very thankful for C-sections. I'm very thankful that we exist in a day and a place and a time where you can have a C-section that is probably going to be extremely uncomplicated, that maybe saves your life, maybe saves the life of your child or your children if you're carrying multiples. And so it is an incredible invention of modern medicine that we should be thankful for, absolutely. But in America, our rates of C-section are incredibly high, and we're not talking about C-sections that are actually necessary. We're talking about C-sections that are either elective C-sections, because unfortunately a mom has been told that C-sections are easier than a vaginal birth, which I can tell you that that's not true, or that they're safer for you than a vaginal birth, which across the board is not true. Again, maybe in some circumstances it is, but in general, no, it is not. Or moms who are scared to go through the pain of labor, or they're scared of what labor does to their body, whatever it is, some women are convinced to get a C-section. And a lot of times you have doctors who, for whatever reason, a lot of times for self-interest or because just based on bad medicine and bad ideas, they push women into a C-section, women who do not need a C-section. Women who are perfectly healthy, their babies are perfectly healthy, but they're approaching their due date and their doctor pushes them into an induction, and the induction doesn't work because the mom and baby simply weren't ready to give birth yet. And then they're pushed into a C-section because they're told, well, this was a failed induction. We gave you Pitocin, we gave you the Cervidil or whatever it was, and it didn't work. Hey, you're already 40 weeks. Let's just go ahead and take the baby out. Unfortunately, that's what happened to me with my first birth, and I just didn't know any better. And so that's really my biggest recommendation to you, is to make sure that you are well educated on your options and to make sure that you have a provider. Find a provider in your area. And there are all kinds of networks on social media. Like I found a Facebook page that was just for VBACs in my area. And all of these women who have had C-sections and VBACs would say, oh, definitely go to this doctor, avoid this doctor. This is a great midwife. This is not a good one. This hospital has high C-section rates. This hospital has high VBAC rates. And so find you a good provider that will tell you the truth. A good provider who tells you the truth will say, here are the risks of a VBAC. Here are the risks of a repeat C-section. They will not pretend like a repeat C-section has no risks. And a good provider will not push you into unnecessary interventions just because it's easier and more convenient for them, just because they feel more comfortable, because they have more control over a C-section. There are fewer variables. You don't want a provider that is going to push you into things that just aren't medically necessary and aren't best for you and your baby, but maybe makes them more money or allows them to go on that vacation at the time that they wanted to go on the vacation. That scheduling an induction and a C-section certainly gives them some more flexibility in that. So you really want to find a midwife or a provider that is going to tell you the truth about the risks and the benefits across the board, and that will ultimately support you in your choice and will be extremely encouraging of you should you safely pursue a VBAC. VBACs, like I said, even after multiple C-sections can be extremely safe, and even safer in some cases than, again, the repeat C-section. So don't be scared. There are going to be people in your life who say, oh no, just go to the C-section. Oh no, that's so dangerous. Oh no, that's so awful. Oh no, once a C-section, always a C-section. Those people just don't know. They just don't know. There are a lot of resources out there about a VBAC versus a C-section. Do your work, educate yourself, walk into that meeting with your provider with as much information as you possibly can. And yeah, that would be my advice to you. All right, a break to tell you guys about 7 Weeks Coffee. The reason why 7 Weeks Coffee has its name is because at 7 weeks, that baby inside the womb is the size of a coffee bean. And the reason that 7 Weeks Coffee exists is not just to provide you with really great organically farmed coffee, which they do. We absolutely love it, but it's also to support every beating heart. So they donate 10% of every sale to pregnancy centers across the country. You guys know I've talked about this a lot. These pregnancy centers are providing so much for these mothers, these pregnant moms in need and their families. And so thus far, 7 Weeks has donated over $100,000 to over 500 pregnancy centers. And just by buying really good coffee from 7 Weeks, you can help save the lives of these children. So go to 7weekscoffee.com, use code Allie at checkout for 10% off your order. Go to 7weekscoffee.com, use code Allie, 7weekscoffee.com, code Allie. Let's talk about something different, a little lighter subject, Bree. Let's talk about musical theater. Because I don't know if people know this, but I did musical theater for a little bit growing up, and you were a musical theater star.
I was a star.
You were a star growing up, and we talked about this the other day behind the scenes. But I really liked theater, and I liked Broadway and musical theater and things like that. I certainly wasn't. My singing voice is average, mediocre. But I still did it. I did it outside of school. And so I was in like a few plays and musicals as like smaller parts. And we were both in Into the Woods.
Yeah.
And you were Jack's mother.
Yes.
Okay, explain what Into the Woods is.
Into the Woods is like, well, the actual version of the show is like not a kid's show. It's like very dark, but
yes,
it's basically telling like an interwoven story from like fairy tales. It's like Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella,
Rapunzel.
Yeah, Rapunzel. And it centers on like a baker and his wife, just like normal characters who are trying to, now I don't even remember. They're trying to find something.
I don't know.
Trying to find something, and they encounter a witch, and it's long. It's long. And I remember it's long because when I was in it, my mom and dad came to the show, and the first half ends with like a song that's like happily ever after, and then you come back
And your
for
dad
act
was
two.
so excited.
My dad was ready to go, and my mom said that was only the first half.
Oh my gosh.
And I just feel bad for him because it was high school theater, and I probably wouldn't want to sit through it either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's long. But it's
Yeah.
fun.
I was one of the stepsisters.
Oh yeah.
Cinderella's stepsister, and me
That's
and the other
fun.
girl, it was awful because because Into the Woods is known for having some like difficult music, right? Like
Yes.
difficult singing.
Mhm.
So I remember that, and I was so proud to have been cast in this cast because it was seen as like more advanced,
Yeah.
and I was not advanced. But as much as they tried to get me, I think it was Florinda and Lorinda, maybe our name, something like that. As much as they tried to get us to be able to harmonize, we couldn't.
It didn't work.
Sounded awful. Like I remember
Oh.
one time performing and looking out at the director, and she was making this face. She was like,
That's pretty bad.
yeah, I mean, I was like in 6th grade. But I do remember trying out for it, and I sang for my tryout song, which they said was good, maybe for 6th grader, was A Whole New World.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. I tried to sing it in the car the other day. I was like, wow, my voice has changed a lot. I can't reach these notes at all. And then I had some plays in high school. Nicholas Nickleby, which I was supposed to have a British accent for, which was terrible.
Oh my.
But I liked playing like characters, like funny characters. Like
Me
in
too.
Thoroughly Modern Millie, there was, I think it was like Miss Flannery or something like that. I don't remember her name, but that was fun, and I liked creating my own characters for skits for drama class. That was fun. But the character roles, I think, are actually easier to
Yeah.
play than the just regular.
I agree with that. I agree
gal.
with that. I never felt like I was like leading lady material because I felt like those roles were a little bit more boring.
Totally boring.
And I was cast in a role. I was in Robin Hood, and I played Lady Quigley, and I don't remember anything she does, but she's like the sidekick of the main character. And he was like, dude, just do a Scottish accent.
Just do that. It's just easy.
I was like 15, I think, and I tried.
Can you try now?
I don't think. Oh, actually, it turns Irish, I think, when I try. But so no.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to offend.
I won't.
the
Yeah, I won't
Scottish
make
people.
you.
It's my favorite accent, and I just could not do it for the life of me. But I sure tried.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Wow. What's your favorite role that you played?
I don't even remember the name of the play. I was in a 1-act play, and I played a stage mom,
Oh,
and it was very dramatic.
I could see it.
And it was so much fun.
Yes.
I don't remember that much about it, but I remember I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. There was like a time that I thought about when I first got married and we lived in Athens, Georgia. I was like, I wonder if there are any like theaters, any plays that I can try out for. That's what you do when you have time. You think about things like that. Now I can't imagine. Although that's why I still like doing like sometimes little skits that we do, which we don't have as much time for as I used to before I was doing 4 episodes a week. But that is just like a fun part of, I don't know, a fun thing that I like to do. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's a fun little hobby, but it does take a lot of time. When I was in
Yeah.
France, I was in Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like a summer thing, and we had like a little theater outside of the Sacré-Cœur, and it was very picturesque. It was really fun, but it took a lot of time, and it was exhausting. And I just did it to meet people, and I did, but I was also like,
Did you have to speak French?
No, it was in English.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a lot of effort. So
But nowadays I think that parents have a lot of hesitance to allow their kids to be in theater because theater
for good reason.
theater has always been a hotbed of, and I say this as someone who was in like an extracurricular theater program for like 3 years of my life. Okay. So I feel like I can say this. Theater attracts some strange people, right? It attracts some strange people. And now you can't just be strange. You have to be trans. Like you have to be non-binary,
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's not always parents are scared about like the morals that come with, their kids being into the arts. And that's
Yep.
sad.
That is really sad. I know. I remember my parents kind of talking about that a little bit when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, it's so much worse.
Yeah.
Everybody's a they them now.
That's why
so.
Hollywood's weird. Just a bunch of theater kids who
It
happen
really
to be good
is.
looking.
Yeah. And you can spot them from a mile away, but yeah, they're really
Yeah. And all those celebrities you think became famous from like their big break when they were 25. You realize they were part of the Mickey Mouse Club when they were like 7, or they had
Yeah.
been in Disney, or they had been in showbiz for like their entire lives.
Mhm.
So you can't be really that surprised when they're weird when they name their kid Zucchini or something, because
I
it's like you don't
know.
know.
That's your whole thing. I was talking to my brother about how Olivia Rodrigo,
Yes.
who I think is a really talented songwriter.
Totally, and very pretty.
I love her music, actually. But like she was like a Disney kid from,
Really?
and they went out of their way to like make her one. I think is the thing that's like the parents like wanted her to audition for stuff like that. And it worked for her, which is great, but you can't ignore the fact that like some of this is a product of the system of cranking out little pop stars and little
Yeah.
actresses, and even Taylor Swift, who I love. You guys know that I love her. The narrative is like, oh, she was discovered, but her dad works for some huge firm that has ties to something, and they moved specifically to Nashville to like push her music career.
Where's she from?
She's from Pennsylvania.
See, yeah, that's so interesting, because I think I might have like known something about that, but you do kind of see her as this country star. So she moved to Tennessee when in her life?
I don't know. I don't know exactly when, because
she spoke with a twang when she first started. So are you saying that's not genuine?
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they might have had ties there also, but yeah, I mean, that was a specific,
No,
like,
she
we're
was like
marketing you as a
Hilaria
country
Baldwin.
star.
She
was
pretended.
also like 14 though, so
She pretended.
she pretended.
I heard in the grocery store, Drew looks at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, her heyday.
I know.
Not really her heyday. I mean, she's obviously very famous now, but just so sweet.
Yeah. And now she's re-recording all those songs, and I'm wondering if she's going to put on the accent again.
Oh, yeah, that's true. She's
We'll
kind of
see.
lost the accent.
Yeah.
A Pennsylvania girl now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you do see someone like Olivia Rodrigo as, oh, she's so Gen Z. Like I'm sure to Gen Z is like very relatable, how she dresses, how she acts, that like trendy apathy that is so cool for Gen Z.
Yeah.
But it's like she probably hasn't been socialized that well,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, which is so sad. We want to think that it's like all organic. It's all like
Yeah.
they're sitting in their bedroom, and a talent, like we were talking about the other day, a talent
Yeah.
scout just randomly walks in and is like, wow, you're amazing.
Heard
and
them singing on the grocery
Yeah.
aisle.
but really, I think for most people, it's just not like that. And yeah, because
It's
of that,
manufactured.
they don't get the like the normal experiences that the rest of us do. Taylor Swift never went to high school. I mean, she went to like 2 years of high school, I think, but like
Yeah.
that, I mean, that'll kind of make you a little different.
A little different. Yeah. Did you ever read Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died? You didn't?
No, you recommended it to me. I haven't read it yet.
And you didn't read it. You were like, I don't care.
I was like, no.
No, I
want to.
but I think you would really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was raised by a mom who she was what was it? What was the Disney show that she was in? iCarly.
iCarly, yeah.
Yes, she was in iCarly, and that for us in our minds, we're like, that's the only thing that she did. But she was doing stuff for so long before that and for years after that. Just like her mom wanted her to be famous, but also really wanted her to be skinny. They had a very weird codependent relationship where her mom was like strangely abusive. And like I say strangely, and like not just your traditional, I'm gonna like slap you, but emotional all that kind of stuff, even like sexual abuse. But she really lived for like the approval of her mom and trying to be famous. And she thought that, okay, this is what I want to do too, but really she conflated her mom's desire with her own desire. And I just wonder if how much that happens to these kids. That
Right.
sure, they decide, yeah, I want to be famous. Yeah, of course everyone likes attention. Everyone likes to be told you're beautiful and talented, but I wonder how much of it is really their choice and how much of it they're told this
Right.
is their choice. And that is troubling.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also the element of like when you're a kid, it's child labor. And I can't imagine a lot of those kids want to go and film for 8 hours a day. I know there are limits, but to go into a studio, like they probably just want to like hang out with their friends and like
Yeah.
play video games or something. Like you have to go and work and memorize lines and like do things over and be told what to do. And kids don't want that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe some of them have like vision for this and like are built for this. Some of them
They're just
you
made
just
to do
have to
it.
imagine they're not. And
Yeah.
I think that destroys some of them.
And
So,
there's so much exploitation too, and like sexual
mhm.
exploitation of these kids, and like the things
Yeah.
that you hear and learn about and see when you are a young child in Hollywood can't be that great. Like, it's
Yeah.
not only that your time and freedom is taken from you, but your innocence is taken from you,
Yeah.
probably. I think that's why a lot of them end up so messed up at
Yeah.
such a young age. And like, in some ways, it's just like a failure to grow up because they weren't ever given normalcy as a child.
Yeah, they're like shotgunned into adulthood when they're kids and they skip a whole phase of life. And that's so
Yeah.
sad. In that book, does she talk about Dan Schneider at all?
Yeah. I think. I think? I
Yeah.
don't know. Who is he?
He's like, he's been the well, not anymore. He was the executive director, producer of a lot of those Nickelodeon shows.
Well, she does talk about a guy, I can't remember if that was his name, who was like very weird with
It's
the young
probably him.
talent.
I think it just came out actually that he was like specifically asking these young stars for like feet pics.
Oh, I saw that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's the same person. I'm sure there's a lot of creepers
Yeah,
out
probably.
there because they can manipulate these young kids. Oh, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And I
Hmm.
bet a lot of the parents are like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
if it makes us famous, if it makes us money, it's
Right.
just really, really sad. All right, absolutely love this sponsor, and that is Every Life Diaper Company. Unfortunately, absolutely tragically, there are diaper companies that you have probably used and love that support the abortion industry. Completely counterproductive, but also just evil. If you want to get really good, high quality diapers from a pro life company, then you should start getting your diapers from Every Life Diaper Company. Their diapers are without fragrances, dyes, lotions, latex, parabens, phthalates, so you can feel really good about using their diapers. But also, they have something called their Buy for a Cause bundle that supports families in need of essential items like diapers and wipes. So it makes it easier for these moms to choose life when they are supplied with these essential baby items. So you can be a part of that life giving story by working with Every Life. Go to everylife.com, use code Allie10 to get 10% off your order today. That's everylife.com, code Allie10, everylife.com, code Allie10. All right, next question. No one is talking about women outside the role of mom and wife. Is that all I am to the church? So there's a lot of parts of this question. First, I would say that Paul says it's better to be single than to be married. We know that Jesus wasn't married. And so singleness is a very high calling. Not everyone is called to it, but we are told that it's a gift because you don't have to split your priorities and your interests between your family and God. You can be completely 100% sold out to what God is calling you to do individually. Whereas if you are a spouse or if you are a parent, you are not thinking only about your individual calling. You are thinking about the needs and the well-being of your family. You should be. That's a godly thing if you are a spouse or a parent. doing that. But, that's a necessary. I don't want to call it a distraction because I don't want us to demean that. But if we are to read what scripture says about singleness and about the exclusive focus on Christ that singleness affords you, I think that it's okay to say that it is a form of a distraction uh, that is added to your life when you get married, when you have kids that you don't have when you're single. And of course, these things are blessings. We know that marriage, according to Ephesians 5, is a reflection of Christ in the church. There is great eternal gospel significance in marriage. We also understand from Psalm 127 that the kids of your youth, the children of your youth, are like arrows in your quiver. They are blessings, they are never burdens, and we are beneficiaries of the gift of children. They do not detract from who we are, they add to our lives and add and multiply our joy. But even so, as we said, being single is a high calling, it is a good calling. And sure, I do think that the church absolutely could do a better job at ensuring that we talk about singleness. We talk about single women, single men, um, as not as people who are just waiting to get married. And that we are not talking about singleness as a perpetual waiting period. And we're not talking about marriage as something that you have to attain to have fulfillment, or to assuage loneliness, or to be a true Christian. And that we don't talk about motherhood or fatherhood as something that you have to do or have to aspire to in order to be a fulfilled, happy Christian. Again, these things are wonderful. They are blessings. God may have them in store for you, but they are not the highest Christian calling. The highest Christian calling is to glorify God. And so we need to make sure that we as a church are talking about marriage versus singleness in a way that is biblical. And I do think when it comes to like how we were raised up in youth group and so-called purity culture, which I've done an episode on in the past, and what purity actually looks like according to scripture, I do think that we were basically told like the only thing that you're thinking about right now is sex, and the only way that you're going to have that satisfied, the only way that you're going to be able to satisfy your deepest desire, which is sex, it was assumed, is through marriage. So just like really just like hold on tight until you get there. Then when you get there, you can finally be happy. You can finally be free. You don't have to worry about this like struggle anymore. And really that was seen as like the goal, as the thing to think about, the thing to pray about, the thing to use as your lens through which to like read scripture and read books. And like that was basically our focus, was finding a good husband or finding a good wife, which is a beautiful pursuit. It's a beautiful thing to want and to pray for. But again, it is not the goal. It is not the prize. Christ is the prize. And so we just need to ensure that there are so many opportunities for single men and women to serve in the church, that they are just as much welcome in our Bible studies. They're just as much welcome in our small groups. They're just as much welcome uh, in certain roles in ministry. And I do think marriage is beneficial when it comes to some ministry roles, because we should be able to like look at how a person leads their family and engages in marriage and raises their kids. That can kind of tell us how well they'll be able to lead certain things. But certainly, we should ensure that we are equipping our single people to be evangelists, to be teachers, to be the people that God has equipped them to be, no matter their marital status, and that we tell them that they can honor Christ fully, they can be happy in Christ fully, they can be satisfied in Christ fully right now, even as a single person, and they don't have to wait for their Christianity or sanctification to really start when they get married or when they have kids. Um, let's see. Next question. Do you think that DeSantis is a RINO, a Republican in name only? I don't, and I've never thought this. I know that that's what a lot of like strong Trump supporters want to say, that he's a Republican in name only, and really he's just part of the establishment, and that you can't vote for him because he can't trust him. I don't really know exactly where that is coming from. I think he has a very solid record, especially as governor, in actually fighting for conservative values, the values and principles that you and I have. I'm not concerned about that at all. Like, if anything, I'm concerned that Trump doesn't really have a cohesive worldview, that he kind of goes whatever way the wind is blowing, and that there's no like moral impetus for the policies that he advocates for, which maybe you don't care about that. And I'm not saying that someone can't accomplish good things simply by basing their policy decisions, on what their voters want, but you really want someone to like get it. You really want someone to know the why behind it. And I don't think Trump understands that at all. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think that he thinks most of us Christians are silly, probably that we're backwards. I mean, he's definitely on board with at least parts of the LGBTQ stuff. He said some good things, which I appreciate, about being against child mutilation, etc. Um, but he has also been, wishy-washy on some things. And I think that's just because he doesn't really have a moral foundation. I don't worry about that with Ron DeSantis. Not that I personally know every facet of his faith or anything like that, but he seems to me to really get it, to get the why. Like, why do we care about gender? Why do we care about the family? Like, why do we care about, corporate America trying to infringe upon our rights? He seems to so there may be legitimate criticisms. I'm not saying any candidate is perfect. I don't understand the RINO one. Um, I, I just don't really get that. And I don't think it holds a lot of water. Okay, a break to tell y'all about Birch Gold. So I don't have to tell you that the economy seems unstable. We don't know what the future looks like, and you just want to make sure that your savings are protected as much as possible. So diversify a portion of your savings, just a portion of your savings, into gold to protect yourself and your family. You can do that with the help of Birch Gold. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or it scares you a little bit because you've never diversified into a hard asset like gold, all you have to do is text Allie to 989-898. You'll get a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation. They'll answer your questions. They'll tell you more about this, and you can see if it's right for you. So text Allie to 989-898 to learn more about why so many people love working with Birch Gold. Text Allie to 989-898. Allie to 989-898. Why party infighting is bad for America. Someone asked me, I guess, to talk about this. This will be the last question that I answer. So I'm going to repeat something that I thought of in the moment when I was talking to my friend, blazetv colleague, Aaron McIntyre, a few months ago. And I said, it is easier to agree when your goal is destruction than it is to agree when your goal is to build. So the progressivism's goal is to destroy. It's to take down barriers. It's to take down parameters, boundaries that have been previously placed for societal reasons. I would say for protection. They would say completely arbitrarily. So the definition of the family, the rule of law, the gender binary, let us destroy these things, and so we can move to a more equitable, liberated society. They have no coherent vision for what to build in the place of all of these, what they would call social norms that they have demolished in the name of freedom, in the name of equity. The right, we are not looking to just destroy. I mean, anyone can take a bulldozer and, tear something down, tear an edifice down. You don't really need a strategy in that. You're just destroying. You're laying waste. Whereas on the right, we are constantly asking ourselves, but what do we want to be? Like, what do we want this country to be? Like, what are we trying to build it into? We know these things are good, or we disagree on, okay, this edifice is good, this structure is good, this boundary is good, this boundary is not. We should build on that. We should tear that down. No, we should build on that. No, we should tear that down. Here's the materials we should use. Here's the foundation. That's really what we kind of disagree on. What foundation should we use? We know we need to build something, but what foundation? Like, how many fences do we need to put up? How many bricks need to go here? Like, that is much more difficult. It's much more difficult to decide on how to build something than how to destroy it. There's basically only one way to destroy something. And if everyone takes a hammer, you can destroy a building together without speaking the same language, without having the same, moral vision. Whereas on the right, we're trying to build. And so it's really difficult for us to agree because we're all kind of starting from different places. We all generally kind of agree that, okay, that progressive government overreach is bad, but we disagree on, like, where do our rights come from? We shouldn't disagree on that, but unfortunately we do. Like, where do our rights come from? What rights do the government have? Does the government have versus us? What's the role of the family? What's the definition of the family? Do these things matter if we're building a coherent moral vision? What is a coherent moral vision? So we have a lot of disagreements on the right. And while I do think party infighting is deleterious, it's also inevitable when it comes to building something. So what we need to do as conservatives is we need to decide on our foundation. And here's the problem, though. I'm not going to budge on believing that the foundation is that we were all created by a God who made us in his image as male and female and created the family. I'm not going to budge on Genesis 1. That's God. I'm not asking for Levitical law, certainly. I'm not asking for a theocracy. I'm just saying all laws start somewhere, start with a worldview, are based on something, have some foundation. Let's start with Genesis 1 at least, that there is a higher power that transcends the government, that gives us our rights. Therefore, the government is not the highest power. It can't give and take away those rights arbitrarily. We were all made in his image, so people matter more than plants and animals. And he made us male and female. That's fixed. And he made us in his image. So we matter. So abortion is bad. Murder is bad. Like, trampling on people's rights is bad. So, like, I'm not going to compromise on Genesis 1:27. But there are a lot of people on the right who don't believe that, who think that we can be founded upon reason, as if that's something that can just happen in a vacuum. We should just be founded upon facts, again, as if objective truth exists without a transcendent power and objective universal moral order. It doesn't. So that's the issue. I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to budge on Genesis 1. And someone on the other side is probably not going to budge on believing that we can just be enlightenment thinkers and all start from a place of, like, rationality, which apparently just evolved over time. So I don't really know what to do about that. There's going to be infighting. Do I think it's probably detrimental? Yes, but we've got to agree on the foundation. Until we can agree on that, there's going to be a lot more division. I can link arms with people that agree with me on, like, gender, but maybe disagree with me on abortion. I think that's fine. But I'm not going to budge on the foundational things. And at the end of the day, it's more important for me to abide by what God's word says than to win any elections or be seen as, like, the right kind of Republican or whatever. So that's my take on that. All right. That's all we have time for today. We will be back here soon. So Blaze TV has a goal of saving 70,000 babies in 2023, and we are well on our way. The way that we're doing that is by supporting Preborn. Preborn is a network at clinics that provides free services to pregnant women in need, particularly free sonograms. If a pregnant woman gets a sonogram, she sees that baby, she sees the life growing inside of her, she hears that beating heart, she is significantly less likely to pursue an abortion and then decide to keep her baby. If you would consider donating just $64, you can cover the cost of multiple ultrasounds just by donating that $64. Dial #250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250. Say the keyword baby, or you can just go to preborn.com/Allie. Make your donation today. Whatever you can donate is helpful. Go to preborn.com/Allie, preborn.com/Allie. Hey, Relatabelles and Relatabros. If you could please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to Relatable, that would mean so much to us and it really does help the show. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. Thanks.